Over 13 years on YouTube, over 2,000 videos, over 20,000 subscribers, over 7 million views. What can I do to say thank you? It's a Friday Talkie. I say a because it's a one-off, but yeah, I have some topics to talk about. So I'll talk about them. I'll tell you what I'm going to talk about actually before I start talking about it. First is Chinese handhelds, because as you know I like Chinese handhelds, so I'm going to talk about them in general, where I think they're at as a scene, where I think they're going to go as a scene or as a product. And then I'm going to talk about more modern, I mean Chinese handhelds are a modern thing, but retro related. Yeah, modern, like next gen consoles, what do I think about them and what they could do, and virtual reality, PSVR more specifically, my thoughts and experiences on that. And then I'm going to answer a Q&A question, because ordinarily in like old school Friday Talkie I would do a shout out, but I'm not going to because I don't have any specific channels that I think I want to shout that channel out that I haven't shouted out before, and I don't want to get into the whole thing of, there would be people saying, oh, why didn't you shout me out? Don't want to go there or get into that. So I'm going to do a Q&A thing. At least one question, maybe two, depends what the questions are, because I haven't looked yet. So yeah, let's get into it, to quote someone else. Right then, Chinese handhelds. Things like, oh dear, I don't know if you can see them there. No. Things like the Talkie V90 and the RG350, the RG280, the RG351, the RK2020, and many, many more. LDK game, RS97. I've got a lot of them. I'm still waiting for an RG351P. They are a thing. Some people love them, some people hate them, some people don't know what to make of them. I personally like them, but it's about understanding what they... Excuse me, I'm drinking fizzy drinks and I have to burp on camera, obviously. Yeah, they're not necessarily what people think they are or want them to be, and so can be disappointed by them. Here's the thing, China currently, technology-wise and manufacturing-wise, are where Japan was, I would say, in the 80s. After the war, Japan's industry was in tatters and very limited in what they were allowed to do by the UN post-war, what they could make. And a lot of what they made was copies of Western products, and certainly by the late 70s, early 80s, they were copying American and European electronics and making them cheaper, or making them more cheaply. A phrase I remember from a film, and I can't remember what the film was cheap Japanese crap, referring to some product that had stopped working. There was a lot of it. It was cheaply produced, but it wasn't high quality. And then they got better. They got better at it. Instead of doing copies, they started making their own products and doing their own product development. And then they got very good at it, so that they were making better products more cheaply than the US, or than the West, we'll say. US, Europe, Britain. They were just plain making better products and cheaper. And now they're making better products, I can't say more expensively. What consumer electronics and games consoles are being made in Britain at the moment? Yeah, There might be some, I can't think of any. Certainly no mainstream ones come to mind. But this is the thing. They copied, they gained parity, then they dominated, did their own thing. China are doing that. They've certainly for a long while been in the copycat phase. I mean, we've had years of cheap, crappy Famiclones. That's kind of where they started out. These were like practice, getting their production facilities working and sorted and being able to copy simple stuff like the Famicom and miniaturize it, you know, a NES on a chip in a handheld. And they got to the point where, okay, the products are crap, but they're cheap. They're really, really cheap. You know, you can buy what did a Famicom cost back in the day? And, you know, a NES is a big beast, really. But the Famicom wasn't too big. But they cost us an amount. I don't know what they cost, actually, brand new. But you can now buy a Famiclone handheld for £12. You can buy a Famicom handheld plug and play that you plug into your telly for a tenner. It is cheap throwaway crap. And the Chinese got really, really good at that kind of thing. And then they started to work on more advanced stuff. The more professional and more advanced companies were building mobile phones and then Android kit. Things like the GPD XD, the GPD Win, all of those kind of things. They're a different kind of market to the one I really want to focus on. But certainly they learned they had learned their trade and how to make fairly decent quality kit through making things like mobile phones for Japanese and Western companies. So they've certainly reached the point where they're on a par with the West in terms of quality products. But what the stuff, the handhelds that I'm thinking of are the low-cost ones. Not the really cheap crap Famiclone rubbish, but the stuff like the RG350. And this is where this retro gaming handheld market, where we're at today, they have fairly well mastered the art of making a low-cost, adequate quality handheld piece of hardware. They can do the hardware now and make it affordable. I mean, yes, there is more powerful stuff that can play Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, Atari Jaguar, 3DO, which you can't do on these little cheaper handhelds. But that's the thing, they're expensive. They're more than twice as expensive than the stuff I'm focusing on, so I'm not talking about those. The low-cost stuff, they've mastered making it. They're certainly Anbernic at the moment. They are excelling in terms of the quality of their output. The thing that most of these companies haven't quite done yet, and Anbernic might be getting there, I'll let you know when I get hold of an RG351P, because I think they might have got it sussed. What they've not been doing is the thing that makes Nintendo fantastic and Sony quite good. They make the piece of hardware, a good piece of hardware, but they also make an operating system for it that runs seamlessly with the hardware. And they do it themselves. None of these Chinese companies are doing that. The ones, they're using like freeware operating systems with, I don't know how much communication with the people who are developing those operating systems, like OpenDingux and Emulec and Batocera, whatever. Some of them are having some communication with them, so it's modified specifically for that particular handheld. Some of them, like the RK2020, the developers of the operating systems, they won't touch it, which is why that's such a god-awful handheld. Even, it's hard, the plastic one apparently is absolutely appalling. I have the metal one. It's not, hardware-wise, it's probably not shockingly appalling, but the operating system that's on it is just plain not made for it. It's shoved in there because it works badly. There's no attention to detail, so you know, if you can get emulators working, they're certainly not configured right. A lot of these Chinese handhelds, there is no attention to detail on a lot of them. The OS might be compatible. They might have even given you some games to run with them, but what they've not done is they haven't put in the work. They've grabbed an open source or freeware operating system that's relatively compatible, crammed it in there, got some ROM packs, if you like, pre-compiled, pre-collated, whatever, ROM packs, shoved them in there, said that'll do. You know, they're like numbered in ways that make no sense, and said that'll do. People who don't want to have to mess about, they can just turn it on and here's some games they can play. Great. But as a product, it's shoddy. And that is where a lot of the Chinese manufacturers are at the moment with these handhelds. Good hardware, but completely let down by the operating system and the lack of configuration. The fact that they haven't, when they have got emulators on them, they're not configured, the buttons aren't set up in a good way. I believe Anbernic are on that, and if they are, that will be great. I don't know yet, but all it's going to take, to my mind, for China and Chinese companies to break the mainstream or near the mainstream market, and let's say the mainstream portable retro gaming market, or maybe make that market mainstream, is to make a good quality handheld, something like the, let's say an RG351M, but with just a little bit more power, so that it can do Dreamcast and PSP without stuttering. I mean, not maybe 100% compatibility with all the games, because there's always going to be some that just aren't going to, just won't cut it. But you know, little bit more power, but they need to pay attention to the operating system, to have support from the devs of that operating system, and then to take the time to configure every emulator and either put on all the game ROMs for a system, or maybe none at all, but if they're gonna put ROMs on, stop with this stupid numbering system that puts them in an order that doesn't mean anything to anyone except the person who put them on. That's just stupid, and it makes it really hard to find the games that you want. They need to be either alphabetical or not on there at all. To do otherwise is just stupid and lame and cheapens the product. Yeah, if they can get the hang of that, quality product, bit more power, attention to detail, they could totally take this kind of product and make it mainstream. And I think they're this close to doing it. And I do think if any of the companies out there that are doing it, I mean, BitBoy, Pal Kiddy, Anbernic, who makes the RK2020? I don't even know. Other companies that I don't remember the names of. I think Anbernic will be the one. Yeah, that close. And it's going to be interesting, because once they've mastered that, they will be on a par with the big names, the big boys, Sony and Nintendo. Maybe not in terms of volume, but in terms of having a focused, targeted their audience and aimed a product at them that is worthy of their audience. And then I think that the professionalism will increase, the quality of the product will increase, sales will increase, and I could see it go mainstream rather than what we're getting at the moment. It's no good for someone who just, they see this console, they think, yay, retro games, I'll give that to my kids. You can't give one of these to your kids and expect them to do anything but break it. or like, God, if they got hold of that Arcade 2020 that I was testing recently and tried to do anything with that, they'd just throw it at the wall. At the moment they are a tinkerer's toy. They're not a viable handheld console for someone whose only interest is playing games on a handheld console. They are a tinkerer's toy. Bit more attention and I think they will become viable gaming devices, purely gaming device. Well, they will function for people who want something purely as a gaming device, as well as for people who like tinkering and messing about with them. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Okay then. Second topic. The next gen and VR. Modern gaming. Where am I with modern gaming? What do I think about modern gaming and the next gen? I think most of you know I'm not going to buy an Xbox. I don't really do Xbox. I have an original Xbox. I have an Xbox 360. So I know what gaming on them is like. But I've grown up. I was already grown up when I got the PS1. But I've been like PlayStation all the way, really. For as long as there have been PlayStations. Obviously, I've been around a lot longer than that. My God, I'm old. But, yeah, PS5, I want one. Barring unexpected events, I can afford one at the moment. But I'm not going to buy one I haven't pre-ordered one. I'm not going to buy one as soon as they come out. Because I never buy them when they come out because there just aren't enough games. Or games that appeal to me. I watched it was a showcase video thingy on YouTube a few weeks ago that technically really impressive. The visuals of the games was awesome, but there was nothing there that made me think I really want that. Even like the one that was nearest to anything that would interest me at all was Spider-Man Miles Morales, but I'm not thinking I really want it. It was nearest to what I want, but it's not actually what I want. I've got like the PS4 Spider-Man game, and it's fun and it's gloriously pretty, but it's not actually my kind of game. Or rather, there is one thing on it that for me is a deal breaker, and that's the QuickTime events. Hate them. As soon as you've got QuickTime events, to me that game is broken. It's wrong. That's not how you play video games. That's like, excuse me, still drinking fizzy drink. God, what was that arcade game? I can see it. Oh, bloody hell. You know that you got the knight geezer with the metal helmet and the sword, and he's fighting a dragon, and it's animated. It's Laserdisc. And every so often you've got to do something. You've got a joystick and you can push it up, down, left or right, or maybe diagonal, and you've got to push it the right direction at the right time. And if you don't do exactly the right direction at exactly the right time, you're dead. And you get a fancy animation showing you die. And that's what these QuickTime events are. It doesn't matter that the graphics are done in real time and aren't streamed off a Laserdisc. It doesn't matter that you've got freedom of movement within this 3D world for most of the time. When you hit that QuickTime event, you're playing Dragon's Lair, and that's shit. Dragon's Lair was a very, very pretty shit game. Someone put makeup on a pig or polished a turd. Don't care. It was crap. And that's what QuickTime events are. Is why while I find it largely very entertaining, I don't play Shenmue. So many really promising looking and sounding games. Spider-Man is one of those. They took a great game and ruined it by putting QuickTime events in it. It's not how we play games. It's dumb. I was watching Tasha play Tomb Raider on PS4 recently, and QuickTime. No, that's just not how that kind of game is meant to work. So yeah, Miles Morales on PS5, not interested, not really. Pretty, but not for me. So I won't be buying one of them straight away. Not for me anyway. Maybe for Jo, because there's games on there that she likes the look of. Yeah. But I will wait a while, and there will be games that I want. Gran Turismo's on there, and it's going to be great. Well, it looks great. Will it be great? I don't know. It's going to have some of the classic circuits on there. I saw Trial Mountain on there. Great. So I'll certainly buy that. But I think about, like when the PS3 came out, I bought that really early in its... It was not long after it had been released. I don't even know if it had I think it had had one price drop. Maybe not even that. And I couldn't find... No, I don't think there'd even been a price drop. And it's like, I wanted games. I wanted a racing game. And all I could find was Motor Storm, which honestly... That's not my kind of game. I was playing games that... Was it something sword, something, I can't, it was a hack and slashy kind of thing with a woman. Heavenly Sword. Again, not my kind of game. But I was desperate to play something. You know, I bought this console and I was just buying anything that was reputed to be a good game, though it wasn't my kind of game. And I don't want to do that with PS5. It was quite a while before I got a PS4. And for the longest time, I had hardly any games on it. There was so little that interested me. Battlefield 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Gran Turismo Sport, which was disappointing. And for ages, not much. And the thing that's actually changed that now, I had thought, what was that? I didn't think I was going to get any more games. I thought there was one more game I was waiting for and I've forgotten what it was. And I probably wasn't going to buy any more games until the PS5 came out. And then I got a PSVR and a PS4 Pro to take advantage of it. And I won't say I got carried away, but I bought more games in the last 2 months. 1 month? 1 month. It's a month and a bit. We'll say nearly 2 months. I bought more games for the PS4 in the past nearly 2 months than in the whole of the rest of the time I've had it, which is a few years. I'm looking at the stack of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13 games in the stack there, and a whole load of downloaded content on it. It's like Metal Slug 3 playing away behind me. Forgotten what I was saying. Quite a few games where for a long time I'd had maybe 4 or 5 games. So, and it really is mostly down to PSVR. Really, it rekindled my interest. I had reached a point where I wasn't exclusively into retro gaming. I just wasn't... I wouldn't say I was losing interest in gaming. I was just waiting for something to grab me, and then PSVR did grab me, and I'm re-energized, if you like, for gaming in general, though to be honest I'm playing more modern stuff than I am retro stuff. If I play retro games now, I'm doing one of two things. I am playing on a handheld whilst sitting in my car, or it usually is actually sitting in my car, or I'm just configuring a handheld and then testing it, or I'm making a video. If I'm playing on original hardware, I'm making a video. Generally now, if I'm retro gaming, I'm not playing on original hardware at all. I've just realised I'm recording the whole of this video staring at my picture and not at you. That's terrible. Shouldn't do that. I know this by now. Look at the camera. God. Yes, when I'm using original hardware, I'm making a video. I'm generally not retro gaming for the fun. Really, most of the time I'm not retro gaming for the fun of retro gaming, except when I'm on a handheld out somewhere, and it's just a way of killing time. If I'm gaming for the joy of gaming, I'm playing on something modern, either a PS4 game or a PSVR game, occasionally on my laptop on a PC game, basically Grand Theft Auto 5 or 4. Yeah. But the funny thing is, while PSVR has rekindled my love for the PS4, I don't spend that much time on it. I did for quite a long time before I got it. And when my experience with the VR was Android phone based, and I couldn't play that for very long because the batteries would drain really quickly or the phone would overheat. I used to say to myself, when I get a proper VR setup, I'll be in that VR and I'll never come out. It's not actually what it's like. It's not actually how I do it. 2 hours tops, and that'll be like for a week. I'll maybe play it once or twice a week for a couple of hours, because it is. It's intense, it's really intense, and motion sickness is a thing, but also just sensory overload. And I did a live stream a few hours before I started recording this, and I was playing Star Wars Squadrons. Love it. And you can see right at the start of the video, I got thrown in at the deep end. I had a continue save point thingy, slap bang in the middle of a battle with the Star Destroyer. Don't ask me why. So I started streaming, I hit go, and bam, straight into this battle. And I was just laughing my head off in this live stream because of the intensity of it. It's like, okay, I've got the controls, I know how to fly this thing, but oh my God, it's mental because of the intensity. And there are actually big, long cutscenes in that game, and they annoy the crap out of me. But now I think about it, I think they're probably there to stop you having a heart attack. Because if you've got an intense game in VR, it is way, way, way more intense than playing it on a screen. Like Battlezone on PSVR is one of those. It's intense. It gets the heart pounding. You know, when you're in a tight spot and you know you're in a tight spot and you're trying not to die and you're in there, it gets the adrenaline going. And I can imagine that being quite bad for your health if you spent an awful lot of time doing it. But I've kind of just, without thinking about it, hit on this balance of how often and how long I play in VR. I've got Minecraft for PSVR, and I don't play it in VR, though it's like, wow, when I do put the helmet on and have a look around. I'll only have a look around, I won't actually play it, because the experience is too intense. All I want to do is stand and look at it and go, wow. I don't want to walk around because it makes me feel sick. But I'll just stand there and be like, wow, and zone out for a bit. And then I'll take the helmet off and play it on the TV screen. Yeah, so it's like an hour to 2 hours is about as long as I'll play anything in VR, and I'll only do it once or twice a week. The other aspect with the VR, and reason I don't play it or use it all that often, is it's actually quite an unsociable thing. Joe is a gamer, as you know, so is Tasha. And quite often Joe will be sitting here. I'm sitting behind her chair, and her TV is over there, and I've got this TV here. So she'll be here playing, oh, I don't know, what's she playing at the moment? Harry Potter, Lego Harry Potter. She'll be there playing Lego Harry Potter, and I'll sit here and play Minecraft or whatever. And it's cool, we can sit and chit chat or whatever while we play. But the moment I put that VR helmet on, headset, it's not really a helmet, but you know, that's it, bam, I'm not in the room with her anymore. She can talk, I can't hear her because the earbuds are that good. I mean, they're not noise cancelling, but they do block out the sound. If she wants to say anything to me, she's got to shout, or at least raise her voice. And that's not a way to have a conversation. So basically, if she's playing there and I'm playing VR, I could be back in workshop, I could be the other side of the world, it doesn't matter. We're not socialising anymore. And that's not healthy. It's, you know, it's okay every once in a while, especially if I do want to shut the world out. I do like my own space or my own company from time to time. Normally I'm a pretty solitary person, and spending a lot of time with people I find challenging. With Jo, it's cool. She's a very relaxed person, and it's easy. But you know, sometimes I just want to be on my own. And when I'm in a place where I don't have my own room, if I want to be on my own, I can stick the VR helmet on, and that's cool. But it's not. It's not a good way to game if you want to socialise with the people you live with. So I limit it. Yeah, but it is really, it's a fascinating piece of kit, and it has rekindled my interest in the PS4, which is kind of ironic given that we're just coming into the next generation. But I think it'll be a while before I get into like thinking about buying a PS5, and then when I do, what do I really want to do with it? Probably more VR. They'll have to do a PSVR 2. And I don't think there's much holding back the PSVR in terms of what I would like it to do. It needs a higher resolution, definitely needs that. You can see that you're not in the real world just because of the pixels. But there's not much else where I think, oh, I wish they'd sort this out or that out. I mean, things holding me back in VR at the moment are actually nothing to do with the hardware, it's the lack of space. I have two PS Moves, and I can play things like that fishing game and the golf game, but there are other games where there's more movement required, and I just can't. I'm like hitting people in the back of the head, or smacking my hands into glass doors and stuff like that, so it's not safe. But that's nothing to do with the hardware, that's just gaming in an area with a lack of room. Can't be helped. Yeah, so I don't know, PSVR 2 on PS5, don't know what to expect from that, don't know what they'll do. I've said it before, the future of VR is augmented reality on a cableless, self-contained thing, kind of like Oculus Quest, if you like, except it needs cameras in the front, forward-facing, stereoscopic cameras, so you can see the real world. And you've got the processing and everything, and it's internet connected, and you've got a decent battery life. I mean, you could have the batteries and the processing unit either on the back of, like, they're all missing a trick with VR helmets and stuff. If they want it self-contained, like Oculus Quest, they'll have the processing unit here and the battery here, so it's pulling down. Stupid. The only thing you need at the front are the screens and the lenses. Then at the back, put your processor and your battery back here, or on your belt. The cable doesn't matter if it's attached to you. You can walk around and it's not going to restrict you in the way a cable attached to a PC does. So you take a helmet like that, you put stereoscopic cameras in it so you can see the real world and then overlay graphics onto that. Have it internet connected and the sky is the limit what you can do in terms of gaming, but in terms of how the world itself works. I mean, it gets very, very big brother, and I've talked about this before. If everyone's logged in, it's like Facebook are trying to do with the Oculus Quest, and in fact they're doing. You've got to be logged into your Facebook account to use it. Now imagine that in augmented reality. You've got your augmented reality headset on outside, because you can look at anything and say, what's that, or who is that? And it'll tell you. That person walking down the street is so and so. Or I imagine that kind of thing wouldn't be accessible to everyone, but you know the police would have it. They could just look at you and know who you are and where you live and what your record is and what you had for breakfast. Totalitarianism and all sorts. Big Brother will be watching, he is already watching. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen in our lifetimes. You wait and see. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to say about that. So I'm going to move on to a Q&A thing now. Okay, I'm going to answer a couple of questions from the Q&A questions file. First one is from Lego Grand Prix. Link to his channel down there. He asks, for Q&A, would you try wargaming? And would you do things like Warhammer, over the top fantasy of sci-fi, or realistic like bolt action? No. No, I would not. Those things, role-play games, I'm not into role-play games of any sort except Bethesda stuff like computer games, video games, and then only to a limited extent. Skyrim basically, in the Elder Scrolls games. Real world role-play with the little figurines and stuff, or Dungeons and Dragons type stuff, not even remotely interested. We happened to stumble across a role-play kind of gaming shop in town the other day, yesterday in fact. I didn't know it was there. It's been closed for as long as I've been in town and I'd never even noticed it, but we happened to walk towards it from the car park and I was like, what's that place? It said gaming. And I thought, well, let's just have a look. And we looked in the window and this grumpy looking bearded guy kind of looked up and looked at us like, what are you looking at? And we just walked on. It's like, no, none of this, like Games Workshop. It was Games Workshop kind of stuff. Not for me at all. Now, Joe has done Dungeons and Dragons in the past and had a bit of an interest in, I think it was Warhammer, years ago, but she certainly hasn't done it in recent years. But for me, it just, it's a step. I mean, I'm a geek, no two ways about it, I'm a geek. To my mind, that kind of stuff is nerdy. Now, while there's nothing wrong with being nerdy, I'm not a nerd. I don't think of myself as one. Jo would label herself a nerd. In fact, she does. Her level of geekdom goes a level higher than mine, and the attention to facts and details and things about stuff she's interested in, it goes way beyond mine. So, and yeah, those kind of games and that kind of gaming takes a level of interest in the details that I just don't, I'm just not, I can't immerse myself in something that's, I've got to know or look up or throw a dice or have a slide rule or whatever. It's not for me. I'm just not that, I'm not that far gone. That sounds derogatory, and I don't mean it to, but it's not for me. Okay, another question from Simply Austin. Link to his channel down there, I think. Actually, I'll have to look that one up because I haven't got it on the thing. Question for Q&A. Have you looked into MiSTer FPGA yet? I know it's expensive and the wrong time to be investing 100 to 250 quid into gaming right now. But I know you would love it from your love with the... Okay, I've got to move the... It's gone off the side of the screen. Your love of the Pi. It kind of takes it another step forward for the retro stuff. It doesn't just emulate the game, it recreates the entire system. Being able to boot into an Acorn Archimedes OS, play it exactly like you was on them, then open the menu, load up an MSX, do the same, Amiga, Atari ST, BBC Micro. It doesn't just do the games, it does everything the original system did, flaws and all. Maybe you could sell off one of those beloved systems to fund it. I know it's easy enough for me to say. I know it's not ideal. I just know it's the kind of thing that would make you smile, just playing with all those systems from the ground up without the hassle, space or hardware issues. You can even image your own systems to play on this, so you don't lose anything you have on them already. Exact desktops, command prompts, OS, workbench, basic, all exactly as they were. No. No. Here's the thing. As far as emulation goes, I don't care if the emulation is done in software or hardware. I could not give a monkey's, so long as it plays the game fairly authentically. That's fine by me. If all I'm interested in is playing the game, I don't care how it's done, I just want to play the game. If I'm interested in authenticity, I will play it on the original hardware. To my mind, having a system that isn't the original system but plays the games like I was playing it on the original hardware, whilst not actually being the original hardware, I don't get the point. It's okay, takes up less space, but you're not getting the original experience. You might be getting the same boot up sequence or whatever, but it's not. You're always going to know it's not the original thing. You're not going to get the same, I don't know, grinding noise from the disk drive or clackety feel to the keyboard or whatever it is that made that system unique. The smell of the hot circuit board on a Sinclair 48K Spectrum, those things smell unique. You're not going to get that with some FPGA thing. So if I want to play an Amiga game, and I'm not going to play it on an Amiga, I don't care that I have to that I can go through workbench to play it, an emulated workbench. And I can do that on software emulation anyway. No, I see absolutely no benefit at all having hardware emulation compared to software emulation, and paying a hell of a lot more for it. I don't see the benefit if it's all about the games. And you're not going to get the original experience. You might get the original operating system experience, but you the idea of selling an original system to buy a thing that replicates it, no, that's sacrilege. The only reason I would sell off my hardware, my original hardware, is if I really badly needed the money or couldn't afford to keep paying for the storage where I've got much of it stored at the moment. If it hits a point where my income gets, I don't know, I feel like I'm in a secure job at the moment, and I feel like I can continue to pay for that storage for the time being without too much worry. But if that was no longer the case, then I would consider selling the stuff off. But I wouldn't use that money to buy an FPGA type system to replicate the systems that I've sold off. It's like, no. It doesn't... If I was going to emulate something, I would just spend less money, and in fact, I've got a ton of things that will replicate most of those anyway, or just emulate them on my PC if I really wanted to. But it's not for me, I'm afraid. I know for some people though that the hardware emulation route is very appealing, and the authenticity of the emulation is appealing, but to me it's not. I'm a collector of hardware. I'm a collector of original hardware, in which case having the original hardware is the only thing to have. And I'm a gamer, and a retro gamer. And when it comes to gaming, I don't care what it's on. It doesn't matter. It's probably why I enjoy the Chinese handheld so much. When I'm out and about, retro games are actually, I would rather play Virtua Racing from the 32X. That's one of my main, I have like 2 or 3 main go-to games when I'm out and about. I'll play Virtua Racing from the 32X, I'll play Starship Command on the BBC Micro, and I'll play Sonic the Hedgehog on the Mega Drive. And I'll play Mario Kart, probably either from the SNES or the GBA, maybe the DS. And that's my retro gaming for fun when I'm out and about, and I don't need something fancy to do that. I can do it on a £30 piece of junk. I can do it on a potato. I do like this current potato thing. If it's cheap junk, it's a potato. Yeah. Okay. Try not to go off on one now. There were other things I wanted to talk about and I can't remember. Okay, I'm going to end there unless I think of anything else before I edit this, which is unlikely because I'm about to start editing it about now. I suppose things coming up. What can you expect, actually? Yes, before I finish. What can you expect video-wise from me in the future? You may have noticed, or you may not have noticed, I've not been doing much in the way of gameplay videos. Mainly because I have been distracted with the PS4 and the PSVR, and I like streaming. It's like when I'm playing on it, at least once a week now, I just do a live stream. And I don't know how many of you get to see those. I know for a lot of you, you're at work. I stream at stupid hours, like when I can. when the TV isn't on, or there aren't people about and lots of chattering and whatever, where I'm not going to be causing a disturbance, and generally that's not the time that most people are going to be watching, so I miss out a significant part of having you lot watch. But I do keep the streams like as a recording. I just don't know to what extent YouTube shares that, and I don't know how easily you can find them. I need to do a playlist, a live stream playlist. If I haven't already and forgotten about it, I should look into that. Yeah, though playlists are not so easy to access these days either. They're actually really stupid. You've got to click several links before you can see all of my playlists, and there are a lot. Yeah. But yes, you can pretty much bet that I'm doing at least one live stream every week. I've got at least one more hardware review coming up, because I mentioned it earlier. I think I have got a RG351P on order. I won't say put out, it was ironic actually. I ordered one, and then 2 weeks later I get an email from Anbernic saying, would you like a free one for review? Or rather, they didn't say for review, they said, would you like a free one to create a promotional video? I said, thanks very much, but I've already ordered one. They said, oh, that's great. If you would put a link to our page for the 351 on your video, we'll give you this free stuff. Tempting, actually. I haven't replied yet. I am glad that I bought one. So, not with my own money, with your money, with Patreon money. Because again, it means I can be completely honest, where those words, promotional video, I don't make adverts for anyone. And I think if there was going to be pressure there to give a good review, even the suggestion that it be, that the primary purpose of the video be to promote it, no, I wouldn't want a free one with those kind of conditions or expectations, or even being implied. But yeah, it did strike me as ironic. I bought one, then get off a free one. So yeah, that's coming at some point in the future. I'm still waiting for it. I think it's only been 2 weeks now, or a bit over 2 weeks, and it's coming from China, so it's coming from the same place that the Arcade 2020 came. And they didn't take too long. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm not getting nervous that it's not here yet. So yeah, pretty much what you can expect is going to be reviews of knickknacks as and when I get them, live streams, gameplays when I'm going to be doing some Commodore 64 gameplays, because I got that cartridge thing for it and it's really cool and makes it easy. And I do kind of think I've not been recording batches, because that, for me to record a batch, I basically need a day uninterrupted, and I just plain don't get that. So that was always my excuse, or way I justified to myself, the poor quality of the recorded footage. Just point the camera at the screen. I think if I'm only going to be producing like one video, gameplay video in a week, I can take the little bit of extra time that it takes to do and use some video capture hardware that I've had for ages. It works. It was always a choice that I pointed the camera at the screen. I think I might just do the capture hardware thing and have picture-in-picture with me on it. Yay, you lucky people, you could see me on a screen and probably vomit or whatever, but whatever. Yeah, that's the plan. Actually doing it, well, you're probably aware by now I frequently say what I intend to do or plan to do or want to do and then don't do it. So don't be surprised if it doesn't happen, but that's what I've got in mind. Some gameplays with picture-in-picture and higher quality game footage. We'll see. I'll probably experiment with it for a bit. I know it works. Yeah, and more live streams. I don't know what games I'm going to stream. I've got some retro stuff on the PS4, though when doing retro stuff it's better to have a retro compilation, because as I found out, the moment you bang out of a game that's not within a compilation package, it stops the stream, and that's really bloody annoying. So yeah, we'll see. But probably some like general chat live streams as well that aren't done from the PS4. I'll do them from my laptop and just sit and chat with you lot. Yeah, because those actually get way better response than the gameplay ones. I was looking through my live streams, like old ones, and at the number of views that I got, and when it's just me sitting talking to the camera live, way more, which means that's what you want. I don't know why. You're weird. I'm going to go now before, I don't know, before I offend someone by calling you weird. Thank you for watching and subscribing for years. My God, yeah. Huge big thank you.
What do you mean, subscribe to his Patreon? I already paid for breakfast. What more does he want? What? Oh, seemed he wasn't invited. Oh, I suppose I could eat his as well.
Over 13 years on YouTube. Edit.